All right. Good morning for me and good evening for you, Brad.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining my YouTube channel. And before we go into our main interview, I would like to do a little bit of icebreakers.
Sure.
And it is called, do you prefer? Okay, so what would you prefer, A or B?
Okay.
Number one, Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
All right.
Definitely Netflix. Much easier to get addicted to something and binge something on Netflix.
All right. Number two, Skittles or M&Ms?
Oh, M&Ms. No question. Sorry. Chocolate. There's chocolate wins always.
All right. Chocolate wins always. All right. Number three, morning person or night person?
Night person. Definitely. Yeah, there's no question there. Musicians are never morning people.
What's that?
I don't know. I mean, I think traditionally it's because if you have like gigs, they're at night. So you just sort of get in the pattern of staying up late. I don't know.
Okay. Number four, couch potato, or do you say potato couch? Couch potato, right? Or
yeah, couch potato.
Running around the house.
I think couch potato probably more.
Okay.
Except like working at the computer, couch potato. Because like when I'm like, I'll have Netflix on, but I'll also have thing up on my computer and whatever.
All right. Five.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do things beforehand or do you procrastinate? So beforehand or procrastination?
Definitely a procrastinator. I operate really well under pressure. I'm never late. Always meet my deadlines, but like I need that, yeah, intensity there at the end.
All right. Number six, meat or vegetables?
Ooh, that's hard. Because I like them both. I like all food.
All right.
You can't really tell from this view, but like I like all food. And I grew up in an Italian American household with my Italian grandparents, and he grew a lot of vegetables, and we had always had fresh vegetables. So like fresh vegetables is like comfort food for me. So I'll go with vegetables, even though I love meat. Like I love eating meat. So gotta go both.
Okay, so Italian vegetables and meat. All right. Number seven, Burger King or McDonald's?
I'm not a fan of either, but I have, I developed a food allergy like when I was in my 30s, and I'm allergic to sesame now, which is horrible. I know, yeah, I know. I can't come visit you. I'm sorry. Or if I do, I will lose a lot of weight. And so like, if I go to sushi places, I have to make sure that like they understand like how to prepare it for me and everything. So anyway, everything at Burger King has the sesame seed bun. So I usually don't go to Burger King just because I don't have options. I'll go to McDonald's because their coffee is only $1 for a cup of coffee. So like, I like McDonald's coffee because it's convenient and cheap. So there's that. So you're learning all these things about me. You didn't know I had a sesame allergy. Actually, that was like right after the Youth Ambassador tour is when I started having that food allergy. So I was fine when we traveled, it wasn't an issue. But like the next year, and basically I overdosed on hummus, on tahini. Yep.
All right, but what kind of symptoms do you get when you intake sesame?
I like break out in hives. I get really itchy. My scalp gets itchy. My ears get itchy, and then if I have a lot, I'll break out in hives all over. It's
wow.
I know. A couple times I've hoped maybe I grew out of it, and I would try it again. No, I'm still.
All right. Okay. Maybe we'll find some cure for that. Okay, so that you can come to Korea. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Number 8, sitting or standing?
Standing.
You like standing?
Yeah, I like standing. And I think, because when I teach and when I direct music and when I do everything, like I don't like to be stuck in my chair.
All right, perfect. Number 9, texting or talking on the phone?
Lately, texting more, but that's a newer thing. I used to talk on the phone a lot, but I would say texting now.
What has changed you?
Well, honestly, because working at a university, not only are all my students, less than half my age and they don't know how to use a phone, but all my colleagues are much younger than me and they would much prefer to text than use a phone. So I just do what they do because whatever.
Okay, because Brad, a lot of people, the viewers would think that you're very young, so it's quite.
I'm 52 years old, and a number of my colleagues are in their. Actually, I don't think anyone in my department is over 40 right now, and some of them are like 30. A lot of them are much younger than me. So.
And your students are in their 20s, right?
They're between 18 and 22.
Wow. All right. So now it has changed to texting.
Yep.
Number 10, last but not the least, quiet music or loud music?
Loud music, but I don't listen to music for fun, because as a musician, you have to pay attention to it. So the kind of music that I won't analyze would be loud music, rock or reggae or hip hop music, or that's the music I would enjoy. So, and not have to analyze it. If there was quiet classical music, I would be trying to hear it. So we'll go with loud.
All right. Thank you for answering these 10 questions.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right. So let's go into our main interview now. Would you please just introduce yourself briefly with your name and what you do and where you're living, where your current location, and anything else that would describe you?
Well, my name is Brad Rees. My title is Executive Director of Arts Programs, and I'm a professor of music at Tiffin University in Tiffin, Ohio. The music program that we have there is something that I pretty much built from scratch. I've been there for 25 years, and there was no music program there before I started working there. So it's something that that's very meaningful for me to see it growing into as big as it is, and when it was nothing to start with. We specialize in commercial music, so popular styles, recording studio production and engineering, songwriting. So popular and commercial music, and basically the kind of music that you'd hear in the media, or that young independent artists would create. And I am also a choir director, so I direct a couple vocal groups. I direct a larger choir right now, not so much larger choir, but in the normal world, I would have a choir of between 80 and 100 people in my big choir. And then I have a vocal jazz and a cappella group that's about 8 students. And then I teach a variety of courses in music production and in music business usually. Sometimes I'll teach music theory related and arranging as well. And then again, I've been at Tiffin University for 25 years. That's in Northwest Ohio. It's a small town in the Midwest, in a rural kind of farm community. The town that we live in, the town that the university is in, is only about 20,000 people. So it's a very small community. And we're about an hour's drive from the nearest kind of medium-sized city, in an hour and a half to 2 hours drive from Columbus, Ohio, and Cleveland, Ohio, and Detroit, Michigan, which are the closest larger cities. And I've been here for 25 years. So yeah, and right now I'm living in a town called Findlay, which is about 20 miles from Tiffin, but it's nearby.
All right, that's nice to know. Did you say Finley? How do you spell Finley? Because I'm not very aware of that city.
It is Findlay.
Findlay.
Lay.
Lay. Okay, Finley.
Findlay, yes.
Findlay.
Well, that's how it's spelled. It's just, yeah.
So if the Korean visitors go to Finley and we would ask for Professor Brett Rees,
no one would know who I am. Sorry.
What kind of a vicinity is Finley like?
Finley's a little bit bigger. It's maybe 40,000 or 50,000. It's got a couple of big corporate headquarters here. The headquarters of Marathon Oil is here, which is, you know, decent sized oil company all over the world. And Cooper Tire, which makes, you know, tires, obviously. Their corporate headquarters are here. So it's a pretty, like, I mean, it's not really an agricultural or farming or factory oriented community. It's a little bit like more eclectic than that. And it's nice. It's a nice place. There's a lot of good restaurants. For a small town, there's a lot of good restaurants. A good thing.
All right. Okay. So you live in Ohio and you've been in Tiffin University for 25 years. And I would like to congratulate on your massive work from scratch.
Thank you.
And as you know, we are now currently going through a pandemic called COVID-19, which was very unprecedented. And so how is this COVID-19 situation at your personal level and also in the university has changed your life? And what's the current situation like in Finley or in Ohio?
Well, Ohio, in the smaller communities like we live in, it's really, it hasn't really affected too many people, you know, severely. The state of Ohio was pretty good early on at, all right, let me backtrack a little bit. As you may or may not know, in the United States, our leadership from Washington, D.C. has not been terribly strong this year, and it was left up to every state to kind of figure it out for themselves, which has worked in some places and hasn't worked in other places. In the state of Ohio, at the beginning, our governor did a very good job, and he had a really smart and a kind of a policy-wise and aggressive director of the health department for the state. And they had a lot of limitations that they put on us early on. They shut down the schools really quickly and had everyone quarantined and no one allowed to go out, you know, except for necessities for quite a while. That was from early March until the end of May, maybe middle of May, when things started to loosen up. And then the problem is, though, that I think partly because in some places people don't see the danger because they just don't see it. You know what I mean? They don't, like in New York City, I have friends that live in New York and they could see what the danger was because they could see how it was impacting the hospitals there. And you know, people took it much more seriously. But if you live in a town of 20 or 30 or 50,000 where there really aren't any patients and there's no obvious danger, it's hard for people to take it seriously. And unfortunately, in our country, it's become a political thing. And so some people literally don't believe the seriousness of it. So, you know, if a third of Americans don't take it seriously, it's kind of hard to do things. It's kind of hard to make headway. So we're still, you know, limited here in Ohio, but the schools are reopening on a sort of hybrid basis. I have a daughter who's 14 years old and she's in 10th grade, and they're going to be going to school 2 days a week and doing online instruction the rest of the week. They have allowed high school sports to continue on a modified basis, which I think is ridiculous. Sorry, I mean, can I editorialize? I mean, whatever. This is YouTube and
Professor Brett Rees, you could be frank.
Okay. I'm not running for office here, so our state like I said, they were really great to begin with, and then there was a lot of political pressure to try to reopen and try to get back to normal and whatever. So it's not quite as, you know, effective as it could have been. We weren't required to wear masks until just recently, like within the last month or two. It was like suggested, but you know, yeah, you suggest something and 3/4 of the people don't do it. And only when it was real clear that like, no, we're definitely getting worse now, did the governor come back and say like, okay, no, masks are required now. But then at the same time, he said, but schools will open and we'll have school sports. So whatever. My university is open. We are also in a hybrid sort of situation where we're limiting the face-to-face contact. Classes will meet only in smaller groups. So if there's a class of 20 students, they will only meet 10 at a time. And like I was saying earlier, I feel more like a janitor sometimes now than a professor, because I have, instead of like for my choir, for example, instead of having 80 choir members rehearsing 3 hours a week all together, I have them broken down into groups of 20 in a really big room, a room that fits 150 people. And in that room, we brace out 20 people, and everyone's wearing masks, so they can't really hear each other because they're far away from each other, and they can't really sing well because they have masks on, but we're all there, and we're learning music, but only for 25 minutes at a time, because we don't want to accumulate the aerosol buildup in the room. So they come in, and we rehearse really fast for 25 minutes, and then clean everything off, bleach off all the seats and clean everything off, have this big giant 45-inch fan, like exhaust fan that we bought, and I sort of rigged it up so that there's exterior doors on both ends of the room so that we can open up the room and suck all the air out of the room. And we run that, and so we have a half an hour with people in the room and then a half an hour with nobody in the room, exchange the air, clean everything off, then the next round comes in, and then the next round comes, and it's just exhausting. It's really, and you don't get anything done. So you're working 4 times as hard, and you're only getting 25% of the return. And it's just very tiring, honestly. But we're doing it, and you know what? The students are happy we're doing it, and they're used to, because we had to go all online in March, the combination of online and face-to-face is fine for them. That doesn't seem to bother them any, and they're pretty good at it. We're fortunate at Tiffin University because we've had online education at our university for many years. So we have the infrastructure. We've got a whole team of people that are course designers, and they know, yeah, for us, it's been easier than a lot of universities. Oops, sorry. A lot of universities really struggled to go online, and we didn't struggle quite as much. I mean, of course we struggled because it was surprise. So anyway, it's a whole new world, and I fully expect that at some point we're going to be online again, because everyone's contact tracing like crazy. I get 2 or 3 emails a day from students saying, you know, okay, I've got a quarantine for the next 14 days, and we're waiting on tests for the people that are living in the apartments that I live in, and blah blah. So it's a big moving target all the time. But we'll see. So far, I think Tiffin University is doing a great job, so I can't complain.
All right. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a lot, but
no, but that real experience, because I really wanted to find out how music teachers are doing, really, because you know, English conversation, I think you really need to get your masks off. You know, like if you're learning a second language, especially like in Korea, a lot of people are into learning English. Now it's very hard because, you know, students can't see teachers' mouth, but right. You know, for music, I was really wondering how,
it's hard.
Yeah. Like you were saying, like aerosols would be like spitting out like all the time. Yeah. So please continue.
No, I was just saying there's no one way to handle it. Like even the research, there's a lot of research that was done over the summer that mostly came out in like June, July, and August that gave us some pretty good guidance for how to handle things. Originally, we had a lot of, you know, plexiglass shields and stuff like, and that was gonna be enough. But then as soon as they realize that, oh no, that's definitely not going to be enough, and that may not even do anything, we kind of changed our plans several times over the course of the summer. A lot of schools just said, no, it's too hard to deal with. We're just not doing any music at all. So it runs the gamut from some schools in warmer climates are just doing everything outside, which would be cool. I was like, I wish we lived someplace. We could do that here for about another month, and then it would start getting cold.
Brad, that's a great idea because, you know, even in Korea, everybody wears masks. By the way, we are very good civilians, and we listen.
Good for you.
We listen. And like you know, you wouldn't be out on the streets without a mask, and the bus drivers or on the subways, they won't take you in if you don't have a mask on. And also you have to like tell everyone like where you went through if you're diagnosed with COVID-19. Right. And they're saying like outdoors, it's less, you know, you get less affected. So I think it's a great idea to take your choir out to the outdoors.
Yeah. Well, we've got a band, like a you know, marching band when there's football, which there isn't going to be football for us anyway. But they're doing all of their rehearsals outside anyway, just because it's easier than trying to figure out how to do it inside.
Wow, that's a great idea. So, okay, for the viewers, if you're a music teacher or if you are a physical education teacher, don't do it indoors, but outdoors. But like in Korea, we have 4 seasons. It's going to get colder now. So, like just for maybe 1 or 2 months, you can do it outside.
Right.
Well,
it's kind of the same here.
Tip.
I don't know what we're going to do once it gets cold here. We're going to have to just seriously modify how we do things. Now, as far as online work together, that's super challenging because there's really no good technology. There's some, but there's not much good technology. Like right now, if we tried to sing together,
can we try to sing? Can we just try to sing? I just want to try. Can we just?
Okay.
Okay.
So let's just sing the beginning of. Let's sing Simunye because we've been singing that. Okay. So who's going to start?
I'll start.
All right. So count it off so that we can theoretically start together.
3, 2, 1.
Simunye, Simunye, we are one. Together we stand.
Divided we fall. But you could be conducting.
All right.
How many people are like the max?
Well, there's a latency. There's a delay between me and you and me, right? So we can never sync up. I could, if I was silent and you were just recording you, then yes, we couldn't really do it together. Like, so there are some audio softwares that have very low latency, but anything with video, you just can't do.
All right. Okay. So there is a
teachers
delay.
Yeah. Teachers are having a really hard time trying to figure out how to teach things because they can't, unless you've, and many of them have gotten very technologically savvy. It's actually been kind of funny. I've always been like a tech person, so like I'm not scared of that stuff, but I've seen a lot of teachers that were really freaking out at the beginning. Like, we can't do it. And then once they were shown, okay, no, for like audio, you can use this software, but you have to set up your own server and your computer and blah, blah. And so there's like things you can do. And if it's less than like 500 or 700 miles, there's almost no latency. If it gets more than that, then there is, because it just takes that long for any, signal, electronic signal, to travel through the internet and get from one place to another. But now a lot of teachers can accompany their students on the piano, and they've figured out how to do that. And yeah.
So it's opening up new opportunities, right?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. And also, my last question would be, in what aspects of COVID-19 do you think should change your personal life? Like, not in the university, like at home or on a family basis, like your leisure. And what aspects do you foresee to change in the near future, or in the upcoming years?
I mean, in our house, the biggest thing is that my son, who's a university student, is not living in Chicago at DePaul University. He's living in our basement. And so, you know, families are stuck at home together. In this particular case, I like it. I like having him home, but I'm also sad for him because he can't really have the experience of being a, you know, a young adult out there on his own living for the first time. He was going to move, you know, move into an apartment off campus with a couple other guys and live like an adult for the first time this year, and he can't. So that's kind of sad. And same thing with my daughter in high school. She's very active in music. The one thing we can't do is we can't have concerts. So, you know, there's no opportunities for kids to I mean, even if they can practice and whatever. And in our case, we're doing a lot of recording at Tiffin University because we can, but we're not doing any concerts because we can't. So my daughter doesn't have the opportunity to, you know, go to choir competitions or do dance recitals or do all the things that she does. So they're missing out on, you know, what was expected to be normal. I don't know how long that'll be. I mean, I think we're figuring out ways to do things slowly that isn't, you know, as good as it would have been, but at least it's something. That's the feedback that I get from my students when I ask them. I'm like, you guys cool with this? Like, and they're like, you know what? It's better than nothing. Like, we're glad to be doing something. Even though it's not what it could have been, we're happy that we're doing something. Because being stuck at home and not doing those things, I mean, you know, you've been stuck at home not doing those things too. It really gets to you. So I'm happy that we are, you know, slightly back to normal, though we're not at all, but like a little bit. And I think we can manage that. I mean, I think that we as a society can, you know, not go completely back to normal, but just enough to sort of feel okay about it. Now, personally, I like the online teaching, the opportunities that come with online teaching. We did, like all summer long, we did weekly workshops that we just put out there on Zoom meetings. And we were teaching people for free from all over the world, and it was so exciting. It was really neat. We had 1 week with songwriting, and next week was beat making, and I did like a independent musician branding thing that was a lot of fun. And we just did different sort of commercial music things every Tuesday night for 2 hours, and we just did that for fun over the summer. But it really opens up your ability to like dream bigger. Because now there's no, you know what I mean? There's no limits to what we can do. And in fact, there's some new coursework that I'm going to be developing that's just going to be offered online because there are people who will want to take it other places than Tiffin, Ohio. Tiffin, Ohio is a small town. We have you know, we're limited to the number of students we could ever have. But with online learning, you're not limited at all. So
that's a good point. Wow. I mean, the weekly workshop, that's a really good opportunity, I think. And what you just said, dream bigger.
mm-hmm.
That's a really important message and a valuable message. Thank you, because you know you have no limits now. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sad when things change because you're like, oh, I miss things, but we'll figure it out. Like,
All right. So is your
change is
son
okay.
All right. Is your son going back to his university soon?
Well, it's all online again for this quarter. DePaul is not opening. They're only opening for classes that need to be face-to-face, like science labs and for stuff that students need to be there. But most of their classes are online. So they're not opening at all. So he just decided to stay here because it costs a lot of money to move to Chicago. And if he doesn't have to be there, then, you know, but he'll probably move there in December, because in January term, he's got some classes that will have to be face-to-face because he's a film production major, and he's got classes that'll be in their film studio, and that's something you can't do online.
Okay. So before we leave, my one last or message that you want to give out to the viewers, or especially right now in my country, Korea, we are going through this big change. We've never thought that kids won't be able to go to school or universities, and this is so new, and parents are very stuck where how they should raise their kids or educate them. But like in Tiffin Universities, what kind of qualities or characteristics would you be looking for when you're selecting students? And for people who want to pursue, dream big about music, what would you tell them? And how would you raise your kids? Like, how would you raise your daughter from now on, like at home? Because I think home education will be very important.
Well, fortunately, she's old enough that we don't have to oversee as much of her. When I see these parents that have younger kids and they have to like really participate in the home teaching, I'm just like, thank goodness that this didn't happen like 3 years ago, because it would have been,
So for teenagers, it's just leave them alone, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Make sure there's no, computers to fight over. Make sure there's enough devices and enough bandwidth on your internet so that everyone can do their thing. And again, I mean, my wife was working from home. I was working from home. Both my kids were taking online classes. And so we were all like, unfortunately, our house is kind of big enough that we could find our own corners and stay out of each other's way a little bit. But that's a thing too. And like even now, I'm in here because the dogs are out there, and I got 2 doors between me and the dogs. Like barking dogs is something we never had to deal with before. Anyway, so dreaming big for Tiffin University students and the kind of students that would succeed. We are a very like entrepreneurial oriented institution. I mean, that's one of the university's like core values. They've got a list of 5 core values, but entrepreneurship is one of them, which is pretty remarkable. Like that's not a normal like value, but like it is for us. And our commercial based on musical entrepreneurship, we want our students to be able to have enough different skill sets as musicians, as technology people, and as business people, so that whatever situation they find themselves in, they can figure something out to be successful. Because in the independent musician world, it used to be you go to conservatory, you become an amazing violin player, and then you go out and you get hired as a violin player. That doesn't happen anymore in the professional music world as much. Most people are doing independent projects. They're already doing remote projects over the internet, and they were long before COVID. And everyone's recording themselves, and everyone's kind of semi-independent in their work. So the types of skills that students need are a little bit different than the traditional conservatory. So fortunately for us, the kinds of students that we want in my program are the perfect ones for this new world. Because they're the ones that can, have their own recording set up at home and make their own stuff and do, live stream performances and, market their own music that they're creating and putting out there and selling themselves. And hopefully they'll be more prepared for this. And all of the guest artists and producers and residents that we bring in and stuff are all professional artists that are good at those things. So the role models that we have set up for our students, we can point to them right now and say, look, they are still making money. Even though they can't do concert tours anymore, even though they can't play wedding gigs anymore, even though they can't do any of these things anymore, they're still entrepreneurial enough and creative enough and have enough different musical skills that they're creating content. And if it means doing 2 live streams a week and doing it for tips, if you're good, then you can actually make a living that. I mean, I'm glad that I have a salary and I don't have to work for tips, but musicians are figuring it out. So the entrepreneurial kind of spirit is, I think, the key to success in the future.
Wow, thank you. Entrepreneurial skills tips. That's a very new thing because I've never thought about that. Because, you know, when you're a student, you just want to go into university and be a specialist in that major.
Right.
But I think Tiffin's University is like starting beforehand, and that's a really good thing. And to make people successful. Wow, and you did a really great job in that for 25 years, I think. Wow, Brad, thank you for sharing your great values, ideas, and any message that you want to like just give out, you know, like how to stay healthy and through music, or just one last word, just a quick one last message for the viewers.
Well, you and I know each other from the World Vision Youth Ambassadors thing back in the day. And the motto that our founder had for that was seeking life's common ground. I think that's a thing that we have to remember in this, even though we're all separate, that there's a hashtag that we use in the state of Ohio. It was like, we're all in this together. But like, we have to have this community, even though we're separate. And I think what you're doing here is a great thing. Everyone though needs to step outside of their quarantine, not physically step outside, but like virtually step outside of their quarantine and interact as much as we would in normal life. And I think if we do that, we'll realize that we're kind of all together in this, and it'll make it a little bit easier. That's what we found in you know, with students and teacher-student relationships and in education, that like, as long as everyone's out there together in the virtual space and engaged together, it doesn't feel like you're all by yourself. So that's.
All right, so seek life's common ground.
Seek life's virtual common ground.
Seek life's virtual common ground. That's great, that's great. And like what you just said, you know, I'm trying to get out of my safety zone, and like what you just said earlier, like dream bigger. So I'm trying to see where my limits are. I think it's a great opportunity for that. And also, yeah, to be really engaged. Right, I think, and then you wouldn't be feeling alone. And because you know, this pandemic is affecting everybody's life and everywhere, like not one person is left out. So I think
it's kind of remarkable though, that because of this, and I think the Youth Ambassadors is a good example, there's 50 of you over 5 years, so there's 250 people who haven't really talked to one another for 20 years roughly, right? And now under the pandemic, you guys are all like communicating with each other for the first time ever, for the first time since we had social medias and whatnot. But it's forcing us to go out there and establish those connections. And we're lucky because we already have people to connect with. I think we have to go out and find the people that don't have those circles already and try to engage them. And I don't know how to do that, but I think that's going to be an important service that we can provide as community leaders, not just educators, as anybody, is like go out and find the people that need the engagement and bring them with us.
Wow, that's really, you know, that's really sweet, I think. It really just, you know, softened my heart. Yeah. I'm going to try to find ways to do it in my community. Maybe you could do it in Finley, and we could share that next time. And Brad, thank you for your time, and hope to have you on here again after maybe 1 year, and to see how Tiffin's has grown and how your life has grown. And I really want to thank you once more again for coming on this channel. Thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you for inviting me. This was lovely, and yeah, it's just great to see your face, and it's nice to see you, and I look forward to the next time.
All right, hope to see you again. Have a great day. Bye.
All right, bye.